Yo, can you hear me?
Can you guys hear me? Send something in the chat if you can hear me. Tyler, turn your video on.
I'm trying to. I literally just don't have the option at the bottom. I'm gonna like leave and then rejoin. I don't know why it's not giving me the option.
Not you, Tyler Thompson. I was talking to Tyler Evans to turn his video on. We're going to let a lot of people get in the chat before we start.
Yeah.
What's going on?
No option on the bottom. Join as panelist.
Can you start video now?
There we go. You just promoted me to panelist. Maybe someone that's not a panelist can't have a video.
I don't know. Can you start your video?
I'm gonna have a load.
All right. You're good. Cool.
All right. There we go.
What's up? What's up, everybody? We're going to try to get this started at like 8:35. I just want, give everybody a little bit of time to get in here. So the way that we're going to be doing this is we're going to be talking about this, obviously the $607,000 wholesale deal we got. Like I said, we're going to let some more people get in here before we start. But we're just going to do a deal review and then do a Q&A so you guys can, ask us questions and, pick our brains a little bit. Hopefully we can provide some value to you guys. We're going to give it like 4 more minutes until we start. Tyler, you a mute over there? Can you talk?
No, I think I'm good now.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me.
Try now.
How about now?
All right, I hear you good. My volume's down. Like I said, guys, we're going to give it a few more minutes, let some more people get in, people that are showing up late. I know I'm the type of person to be late to most things, so give them a little time. All right. Got 22 people on now. Let's try to get up to like 30 before we start. I wonder how I can. Tyler, do you know how to make it so everybody can talk?
No, are you recording this?
I am.
Okay. I do not. They'd probably just have to unmute themselves and then talk.
Yeah, I probably have to do it on my end.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
We'll get started here in just a second, guys. Like I said, we're gonna wait until about 8:35 to get started. I want to get a few more people in here for those that are late. All right, about one more minute. We got 27 people in here. We'll get started in just a minute. Yeah, if you guys like have a question or want to talk during this or have any questions, I'm try to wait till the end. But if you have something like, you feel like it's important to answer right off the bat that we forgot, just raise your hand and I'll select you to talk. Somebody raise their hand for me so I can just see what it looks like, if you don't mind. There we go.
Cool. I think it'll start a queue and you can.
Yeah,
select.
I see it. Can you allow us to talk, Tyler, or is it just me?
It's just you. You're the host.
Got you. All righty. We have 31 people on here. It's 8:35. Let's get started. First of all, thank you guys for joining. I hope you guys get some value out of this. We just had a crazy week last week. Closed our biggest deal ever. I started real estate just a year and 4 months ago, and I didn't even know this was going to be possible. My whole team played a part in this deal, which was, very rewarding. Everybody's getting, pretty big bonuses on this deal. So super happy to get it closed. It was, I like I said, I didn't think it was going to be possible. But I'll just start out introducing myself. My name's Clint Cooper. I'm from the Atlanta area, pretty much born and raised here. I had a previous business before I got into this. And a year and 4 months ago, I just jumped all into real estate, didn't have any experience, didn't know anything about it. And here we are, a year and 4 months later, and I've closed a $600,000 wholesale fee. So it's been a great start. And, off the bat, my team's been a big part of that. I had some success early on, my first 6 months. But Tyler was actually the first person I hired. He's my COO and, more of my right-hand man more than anything. And, we're having a great start and having fun doing it. And just wanted to provide some value to you guys. Tyler, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Tyler. Work with Clint. Before this, I was in various like finance, accounting roles in corporate America, and moved up near Clint. And I'd done some side stuff. I had done a couple flips on my own and just side hustling. And Clint convinced me to, Clint the closer closed me to come work with him. And yeah, those big bonuses he was talking about, my check this month is going to be more than I made in about 6 to 7 months at my old job. So to say it's worth it is an understatement. And the best part is this deal we're hoping is going to be looking small this time next year. So
Absolutely. Tyler, how much was your bonus check on this deal?
Like, I'm trying to break it down because we had a lot of other deals to close to. My net check this month was $43,000.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
net.
Tyler literally in June 2021, he came from corporate America. You know, he was making good money. It definitely wasn't like this. But for corporate America, it was solid money. And you know, now he's getting a check for a 1 month's pay, you know, $42,000. And you know, personally, that makes me feel good. I like seeing my team succeed. I like you know, I like rewarding people that work hard and do the right thing. So super rewarding. But now let's get into this $607,000 wholesale. And just to preface it a little bit, last year when I was by myself, I bought every property I had. So it was either a flip or a wholesale. This year coming into 2022, you know, I told Tyler, I want to start wholesaling more. I think we can make just as much money wholesaling as we do flipping, and it's going to take way less time, way less capital. So we've been focused more on wholesaling this year. We are still flipping properties. We have a few luxury properties we're flipping. I think we have 5 rehabs going on right now, but majority of what we're doing now is wholesaling. And if you don't know what wholesaling is, it's basically just getting a house under contract with a seller and selling that contract to an end buyer. And you're basically a middleman and you make a fee. So if you get the house under contract for say $205,000 and you find a buyer at $230,000, you're going to make $25,000 on it. That's basically wholesaling in the simplest form. Obviously, it's a little more complicated than that, and there's a lot of things you have to do to get to that point. But that's basically how it goes. So going to the $607,000 deal, the lead came in from direct mail. It came in January, and a guy called in to our direct mail number, and he called in and said he had 9 houses he wanted to sell. We didn't, you know, we had never dealt with a deal like that. Honestly, the most we've ever bought from one seller was 2 houses. So 9 was just a whole different world. And the 9 houses were down in Henry County. Part of them were in McDonough, part were in Locust Grove. And he said he wanted to sell them. So Tyler, why don't you go on from there once he called in, because you were the one who closed the seller, and we'll go from there.
So this is I believe this is the only deal that I've ever closed.
Correct.
The first one. So
yeah, big one, the first one.
Yeah, it was a big one. No, so I'm from Henry County, and we were marketing down there, and you know, the lead came in, and the price that he was asking, I did a quick. The reason I took this lead is because I'm the detail oriented one. I'm the one that runs the numbers, the finance guy, and all this kind of stuff. And I knew that if I was going to throw 9 houses to Clint to comp all at once, that he was going to blow it off. And just so I was like, hey, you know what? This is a good one for me to take. It's probably not going to lead to anything, but I'm going to comp all these properties. So I comped all the properties, and I came back and I was like, all right, just looking at it, the zestimate on the properties was a little over $2 million. And so the quick numbers, the number that he wanted was 1.48 something, a little under 1.5 million. So initially I looked at it and I was like, deal. I was like, we got to lock this up. Worst case scenario, we're buying 9 houses on average, 50-ish K, give or take, under market value, maybe more. So I dug a little deeper into it. We had a bunch of phone calls with the seller, and the seller was literally just dotting his T's, crossing his I's, you know, running the contract by his attorney. I built a spreadsheet, sent to the seller with each offer and, you know, what we were going to pay for each house. And he checked his records on his end and was like, you know, he's a super easy seller to work with. He was basically just said, you know, I understand what I'm dealing with. You know, he was 75 years old. You know, he's like, I understand what I'm dealing with, you guys. You're not going to pay market. I'm fine with that. I don't really need the money. But it's going to be a huge weight off of my shoulders to sell all 9 houses to you guys with the tenants in it, if that's the way it is. So anyways, we kind of built a rapport for him over the, I'm from Henry County, so I was able to talk about, locations and school I went to and all this kind of stuff. And we had mutual friends or mutual acquaintances. And then me and Clint, actually, he was old school. He wanted to have lunch with us. So he drove all the way from Monticello, which is about 2.5 hours away. And he drove up, and this is the first time that Clint was like, all right, this might be, we might have some traction here. So Clint and I had lunch with him. Lunch went fantastic. He actually grew up going to a restaurant that one of our best friends from college owned. So it was all about building that rapport with the seller. And we basically had the contract verbally agreed to at that point. He wanted us to clarify some things. He wanted us to clarify as is condition, which a lot of times we realize in real estate that as is just kind of a term we use all the time. But when you're dealing with sellers that aren't in our industry all the time, they really want to know, well, what do you mean as is? So I drew up I think in the contract it said something stupid like, if the siding is rotten, that's okay if we need to repair it. If there is a tree that has fallen on the house and has damaged the siding, that is not okay. And that was like literally like word for word in our contract. So I had to spell out what as is condition with him was. And we had a great lunch, and then a couple days later, we had a signed contract, and then it was really up to Clint to dispo it from there. So I'll let you take it away with that.
Yeah, and just touch on a few points you had. First of all, he's absolutely right. If he brought me that lead of 9 houses, my attention span is very minimal, and I'll be straight up honest. Like I can't focus that well. And if he sent me those 9 houses, they would have not got comp good. They would not got the love and care they needed. So I'm very thankful Tyler took that lead. I close like 90% of the deals at our company still. I really don't talk to sellers until they're pretty much ready to be closed. They have motivation. They have, a good price, within reason that we're willing to buy. I really don't talk to them until that point. Tyler was saying, and he talked about Zestimate. Zestimate is a good basis for the house's value. It's never going to be exact on, and sometimes it's going to be way off. But him just seeing that, the Zestimate's added up to over 2 million, and this guy's won 1.48 million, it rang a bell in his head. And also when we went to lunch, I knew this guy meant business because he showed up in a cowboy hat and a bolo tie and about 75 years old. And I made some mutual connections. He actually knew some of the guys I went to college with. So building that rapport, if you have those mutual connections or mutual interests, always bring that up because it's just going to make him trust you more. And me and Tyler, when we had that lunch with him and all the phone conversations we had, we really built up that trust with him. And, he felt like we were a reputable company and he wanted to work with us. So like Tyler said, we locked up the deal, got it under contract. And after that, I had to start figuring out what are we going to do with this deal. We knew it was a deal. So we got it under contract. I'd spoken to the seller once afterwards, and he was like, listen, guys, like, I don't know what I'm going to do with 1.48 million. Like, if you guys want seller financing, I'd consider that, and I'll be any rate you can get. Now, if I was looking for rental properties, which this would have been a great rental portfolio to take down, I probably would have went that route. And the nice thing about this deal is we had a lot of options because it was at a deep discount. So my first play in my head was, let's see if we can wholesale it to one buyer, put them all under one contract, and have one closing. If we were to put each individual house under a different contract, we would have had way more closing costs because we would have had 9 separate closings, and it just wouldn't have been as clean. It would have been a lot more complicated of a deal to complete. So we put them all under one contract. And my first thought was wholesale. Second thought was we could wholesale. We could just buy them all and sell them, get the tenants out and sell them. But I really wanted to wholesale them because I thought that was the easiest way to make the most money, the quickest. And they had tenants. I didn't know. I've never dealt with a buyer who will buy 9 homes at once. And one of the biggest hurdles you have when wholesaling is if it's tenant occupied. A lot of times they won't take them if the market rent is not, if they don't have market rent. He was renting out all these properties at $850 a month, and market rent for these houses was $1,500 a month. He was doing these tenants a favor for years and years. So after we got under contract, I was like, all right, first thing I need to do is get Scott to go meet with the seller and go to every single house. And Scott's my project manager and also Tyler's dad. He came to work for me shortly after Tyler did. And so I set up a meeting to go to these houses, and I want to do it as soon as possible, just so we have plenty of time to dispose of it. So this is a huge deal. We know there's a ton of potential profit. We gave ourselves on the contract as well. And, I totally recommend doing this if you're wholesaling, flipping, whatever. Give yourself as much time as possible to get the deal done. Yes, we offer a quick close, but typically we're not going to close really quick unless we know we're going to buy it to flip it, or it's a pre-foreclosure. Those are the only really reasons why we ever want to close quick. So on this contract, we put 25 days due diligence because, there's 9 houses, and we also put 60-day close. I knew that would give us plenty of time to figure everything out, find a buyer. Even if a buyer backs out, we can recover it because we have those 60 days. And that was a big key. In the back of my head, I had, the last resort backup plan of seller financing. We can just buy these through the seller and seller finance them at a great rate. And I'll keep them as a rental portfolio for a while, and I can sell them off as we go. So going to the dispo part. So first thing I did is I went to Atlanta Real Estate Investors Facebook, and I do this every deal I get. People complain about not being able to find buyers, or they have all these strategies to find cash buyers for their deals. I get all my cash buyers off Facebook. Now, other people would probably say I'm wrong and lazy for doing that, but for right now, I'm in the dispo seat for our company, and I have a lot on my plate. That's the easiest way for me to get buyers that are interested, ready to buy. And so I collect these emails, add them to our email blast system. So, we have about 800 buyers on there in the Atlanta area. So I collected the emails on the post. I posted in Atlanta real estate Facebook group, and people commented saying they were interested in the 9 houses. So I blasted it out to them and the rest of my cash buyers list. I had about 3 people interested. And so we're under contract at 1.48 million. So I was like, if we make, 400,000 on this deal, that's great. Like, I don't think anybody's going to buy them for 2 million or more. So I blasted out at 1.9 million and had 3 people interested. And they were all hedge funds. I take that back. 1 was an individual buyer, 2 were hedge funds. And so I sent them all the details. Scott had already met up with the seller, collected all those pictures within that week. And I sent them all the pictures of every property. And when we go to these properties to take pictures for wholesale deals, we take them like we're going to list the property on the MLS. No, we don't use expensive cameras. We just use iPhones, but we try to paint a very clear picture of what the buyer is going to buy. We take each room, take the outside, any possible, problems with the house. If, a gutter is falling off or something, we take pictures of everything so that we paint a complete picture for the buyer. So back to dealing with the buyer. So I blasted it out at 1.9 million, had 3 people contact me about it pretty quickly. And I had them interested, and I had a guy come to me and said, yeah, hey, we can do 1.9. Here's proof of funds. I'd never worked with this buyer. I was weary of him a little bit. I didn't know anyone who had worked with him. So I kept, talking to the other guys, and I was like, hey, listen, I've got a lot of interest. And I honestly overplayed that I had more interest than I had. So the last guy comes in and he was like, hey, he called me. He's like, hey, I'm really interested in these properties. I really want them. And I told him, I was like, I've got, verbal offers coming in at 2 million. And I really didn't. I had one at 1.9. One was talking about 2 million, but I pretty much played my card like I had, offers in hand at 2 million. And he came back and he was like, where do I need to be at to get this deal? I was like, if you can come in at 2.1 million after you underwrite it, I'll sell you the deal tomorrow. We'll go under contract. You can do all your inspections. And so I literally, just from negotiating just a little bit with those buyers and playing my cards right, I got our price up from 1.9 million to 2.1 million. That made us an extra 200 grand on the deal just by that little negotiation. So we go under contract with this buyer, and I'll even tell you who it is. I don't care, because I don't know if we'll work with them again. They were honestly pretty hard to work with, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But it's ResiCap. They're a big institutional buyer. They told me they closed on 220 homes from one seller in Florida like 2 weeks before, and that made me feel a little bit better about it. So we're still in the due diligence period. Inside of that 25 days, they go out and inspect all these properties. The seller's there. We basically tell the seller, this is our inspection company. And that's how they played it as well. So they go out with the seller and my project manager, so he can be there to mediate in case any issues come up. And they view the houses. They did pretty quick inspections. They told me, ResiCap told me, they said, if we don't see anything major, we're not going to come back with any repairs. And of course, I don't believe them, because I've never worked with them, and I've just had too many cases where people come back with repairs. And so we're under contract. Inspection came back clean. They said, we're good to go. All right. And then after that, they started asking about leases. And this is where we made a mistake that I wasn't, we weren't versed on. We didn't have much experience doing a deal like this. And we should have had, as soon as we got it under contract, we should have got the leases immediately the next day. And I'm going to let Tyler talk about this, because he was the one handling this. He was the one getting it done for the buyer. And like I said, they're an institutional buyer, so they have a lot of red tape to cross to get it to the finish line. They have a lot of procedures and processes, and they have a lot of people that you're dealing with. So Tyler, why don't you tell them a little bit about, the whole leases, what issues arose and everything like that?
Yeah, and I want to add a couple things. So one of the things that we've changed recently with our project manager doing these inspections is he also does an inspection report, which verifies measures the square footage. And I will add also that all of these houses were 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet, plus or minus a couple hundred square feet. It's a perfect rental portfolio. But he does an inspection report that outlines any kind of issues, and it's just a PDF document that's uploaded with each set of photos. And that's clutch, because it makes us look like, it makes us look like we know what we're doing, and it makes us look like we're doing thorough inspections, which we are on every house that we buy. So that was clutch too, that we have an actual project manager that manages everything, that knows what he's doing, knows his way around a house, and has that report. Once what Clint said is getting assigned leases. So that was difficult. 74-year-old guy. I don't think he had a smartphone even. And he said that he had gotten a printer and a scanner at one point, but he didn't. He had to dust it off. He was actually trying to find physical copies of the leases that he had signed. So through some hectic back and forth, we got all the leases. The leases weren't great. We reviewed them and sent them over to ResiCap as soon as we got them, and we were reviewing them, and ResiCap came back, and basically there was a section on the end of the lease, and this is abysmal, that said that the tenants had the right to renew their lease at the above mentioned rate, so $850 and $800. And like Clint said, the market rates were $1,500 to probably even $1,800 a month. They had the option to renew at the $850 rate for 2 consecutive years.
Let's just stop there. From anyone who's a businessman or a businesswoman, why would you ever give your tenants the option to extend the lease by 2 years at the same rate? It just makes zero sense. And it really scared our buyer. Our buyer pretty much came back and said they would not buy it at anything more than $950K if these leases were going to be set for 2 more years. If they could, extend them 2 more years on their own at the same rate. It was just a terrible job by the seller. And again, he was, very nice to his tenants. He did really right by them. But honestly, he was way too nice, giving them that clause in the lease, and also just how low he was on market rent. So Tyler, continue. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. So 2 key things, negotiations in the deal, like watching Clint negotiate with the end buyer was like watching a Super Bowl. He downplays how well he navigated that whole thing, but just hearing him on the phone, it's almost like you're just under all this pressure to just like give them, you can't teach it, to get just the most out of the buyer that he could. And he milked them for every penny they were worth. And it was awesome to watch. So the next step was to negotiate. I had to mediate basically between the buyer, the end buyer, who wanted to basically say the lease just to remove the entire clause. And I went to the seller and I was like, John's the guy's name. I was like, John, listen, they want to just delete the entire clause. And he's like, Tyler, you got to understand how complicated of a pitch that's going to be. So we went back and forth with the seller, John, and the end buyer, ResiCap, and we went back and forth on the language. And basically what we ended up with was coming up with an addendum. And I told the buyer, I was like, I'll do whatever the hell has got to get done to get this, to shove this deal through. And basically what we came up with was something along the lines of, to amend the section in the lease that said that they could renew for 2 years, to amend it to say something along the lines of they can renew at owner's discretion, at new buyer's discretion, and at market rents or something like that. So we got both parties to sign off on it. John said that he thinks that John, the seller, said that he was going to get them signed and that he thinks that this was sellable and that he could get them to sign the addendums. And I mean, the 74-year-old dude got it done, and he went and physically got every single addendum signed, every single seller, or every single, and we weren't trying to push anything over on the tenants. We were just basically telling the tenants, look, we're selling these properties and you're going to get bumped up to market. Once we had those addendums signed by the tenants, ResiCap was basically, I mean, we're at the finish line.
ResiCap came back and said, we're clear to close when that happened. And that one little clause in that lease would have caused us, probably we wouldn't have been able to wholesale it. If we didn't get those addendums signed, we would not have been able to wholesale that deal at all. And we would have had to buy them or seller finance, something like that. Wholesaling would not have been an option. There was not a buyer that would take on a lease. And again, like I said, we're new to this. We haven't done a deal of this magnitude, this many houses. And what we should have done is get those leases as soon as we got that signed contract and review exactly what the leases say, because that one clause could have killed the whole deal. Luckily, the seller was able to go around and literally collected from 9 different tenants that, signed that addendum, and he got them all signed within like a couple days. We had to extend the due diligence with the buyer. It was originally 7 days. We had to extend it like 3 more days to get those all back when that issue came up. But once we got that, they were basically said we were clear to close. And that was a huge relief. My attorney, said everything was going fine. The buyer, ResiCap, again, like I said, they're a huge institutional buyer, and they actually just had tons of miscommunications within their team. They would ask for the leases 3 times over. They just did not communicate well as a team, and it caused a lot more work on our end in terms of providing them stuff. Like they wanted the addendums 3 different times. They wanted the leases 3 different times. They wanted the contracts 3 different times, everything like that. It was just a pain. And, they were really difficult to work with. Fortunately, they paid $2.1 million, so it made it all worth it. But one little thing could have messed up that deal. Again, it was nice because we had other options. We could have bought the homes, seller finance, whatever. We had other options to make the deal work still, but making $600,000 at one point or at one time was not going to be an option with the way the leases were. So here we are on last Friday. They said everything's good. I'm constantly checking in with his closing attorney, making sure that they wired their money the night before, because I was like, let's set it up Friday morning closing, so they have to wire it Thursday night, so we don't have any issues with them not wiring the money or whatever. So I got a notification first thing in the morning from my attorney and said the money had been in. I'd already gone and signed. And going back a little bit, we're double closing this property. So there's 2 ways to wholesale when it comes to the closing part. You can assign the property, or you can double close on it. Assigning the property, it would literally be a transaction between our buyer and the seller, and there would just be an assignment fee to us. I obviously didn't want the buyer to see what I was making. And typically I don't assign anything over $15K. So if it's over $15,000, I double close on it. And the way that works is I go close with the buyer. They bring in their funds to pay for it. And then afterwards, the closing attorney passes those funds through. It's called pass-through funding. And they use those funds for me to buy the property from the seller. So I actually sold it to the buyer before I even bought it from the seller. It's like literally 30 minutes apart. So it's not like, like days apart or anything. It's literally 30 minutes apart. And they pass through, use that funds for us to purchase it. So we don't have to come out of pocket anything. So like I said, we got it under contract for 1.48 million. Closed with the buyer at 2.1 million. There was quite a bit of closing costs. They had tons of title searches, everything like that. We ended up netting 607,200 is what our wire got. And it hit, I was literally like checking my bank account over and over again, just like refresh. And it hit. And I was just like, wow, unbelievable. Literally, I had no idea, a year and 4 months later that I was going to get a check for $600K just off one deal. Didn't even make sense to me. And, it was just awesome. And it was great. Like I said, Tyler locked up the deal. Ryan Coots, my lead manager, he passed it off to Tyler and notified us of the lead. Scott, my project manager, went down, met with the seller, got all those pictures, did the inspections, and I dispoed the deal. So it was just a full team effort. And that was awesome for me because, like I said, I did a lot in the beginning by myself, doing everything. And to have the full team effort there, it was awesome. So, shout out to Tyler for closing it. And because honestly, if it came across my desk, I probably wouldn't looked into it seriously. And I wasn't even that excited about it when he was telling me about it because he was hyping it up. And I typically don't get over optimistic right from the get-go unless it's just like a home run. And so, shout out to Tyler for closing it. I'm super happy how it went and just amazing. And literally the day before we closed an $88,000 wholesale. Which was our biggest wholesale to date. So we did 88,000 and 607 back-to-back days and almost 700K in profit. And going back to marketing a little bit. So right now, currently with our marketing, we're doing SMS, which is texting. We're doing cold calling, and we're doing direct mail. Between those three, we're spending about $23,000 a month. And now we're just filmed a TV commercial that's launching next week, which will be minimum 25K per month. That's what we do for marketing. We text the list, we call it, we direct mail it, everything. And, each seller responds to the different marketing strategy differently. Some will only respond to a text. Some will only respond to a mailer. Some will only respond to a phone call. So we just try to hit them from all angles. And this $600,000 that we're making, I'm paying out great commissions to my employees, but it's not like I'm going out and popping bottles or something like that. What I'm doing with that money is I'm going to hire 2 more people. I'm going to hire a transaction coordinator and another salesperson. And then, like I said, we're starting TV next month, which is minimum 25K a month for marketing. We're going to pour into that. So I'm not like going out popping bottles. I'm really reinvesting back in the company so we continue to scale, continue to do big deals, continue to make more money. And, I think we're headed in a great direction, and I'm super excited for what the future holds.
And I'll add that the beauty on this deal is we keep saying that the profit was $607,200. It was actually $607,185. The only overhead that we had to come out of pocket on the whole deal was a $15 wire fee. So that's the beauty of wholesaling. On our QuickBooks, we have all these flips that we have $100,000 and rehabs and interest payments and utilities and insurance and blah, 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 blah. And it's just beautiful to see one line of 607 coming in a $15
zero money out of pocket other than those, like I said, the marketing spend and, our payroll, no money coming out of pocket on that deal at all. And like we paid out commissions on it. So, it was an awesome deal. And again, just want to talk a little bit about, the key takeaways from that deal. First is that 60 days closing date gave us plenty of time. Don't try to lock up a deal like that and give you 7 days to close or, even 30 days to close. A deal that complicated with that many moving parts, give yourself plenty of time, give yourself plenty of due diligence so you can analyze it and make sure it is a good deal. Another thing is just acting quick. As soon as we got that contract back, I got Scott over there to go out and, get those inspections done, get those pictures so we can start marketing it out to our buyers, because the clock is ticking. We have 25 days due diligence. We've got to make sure we have plenty of time. Even if this buyer backs out, we've got time to recover another buyer. Because, if I gave myself only 30 days and ResiCap backed out, I would have been screwed. There's no way we could have done that. We would have had to bought the properties. And yeah, it's just like having good pictures and that inspection report. That's huge too for the buyer. It paints a clear picture. But other than that, just, it was us working on our marketing, for the past 4 months. We started really marketing in October. Before, I was just hustling and getting deals from wholesalers, realtors, just friend referrals. I wasn't really doing any marketing. We started marketing in October, and it was a slow start. And when the new year started, January, we really started to pick up steam, and every month we're getting better and better at our sales process and how we're marketing. So it takes time. It's not going to be like an overnight process. You're not going to spend $5,000 on direct mail in 1 month and think you're going to get results. Like, you may not get results. We didn't get any results the first 2 months of direct mail, and we spent over $25,000 those first 2 months, 0 deals. So we were about to cut it out, and we started having some success, and it's just building up. Our pipeline's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're closing more and more deals every week. So now I want to open it up to you guys for a Q&A. You can raise your hand and ask, and I'll let you speak, and we'll do that. So let's just do, like, Lance just raised his hand, so I'll allow him to talk. All right, Lance, what you got?
Man, I got nothing for you. That was from earlier when you were testing out the things earlier. Man, that's an awesome story. I appreciate y'all sharing this, man. This is incredible. I've heard of a lot of crazy assignment fees, but this is definitely number one. So hats off to y'all, and thank y'all for sharing.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, who's got questions? I'll look through the chat a little bit.
Yeah, while we wait, people were asking about marketing.
All right, hold on. We got a couple questions coming in now.
Go ahead.
All right, Max.
Hey. Question, can you talk a little bit more about that pass-through funding?
Yep.
I've heard of the concept, but is that something that was kind of guided by your lawyer through that process, or was that more on the title company with how you guys had it arranged?
So when you're deciding who to use for title companies, make sure they're investor friendly. Some attorneys, so Georgia is a closing attorney state. Other states are they use title companies. They don't use closing attorneys. A lot of attorneys despise wholesaling, don't like it, and they will not do pass-through funding. They think it's unethical. They don't think it's right. To me, it's just my attorney, the way he says it, it's like, why is that wrong for you to use their funds to pass through for 30 minutes on the deal? Basically, how it works is the buyer brings his funds to the table. You sign with the buyer. And like I said, I signed all the documents the day before. I didn't even go to closing. I've got a relationship with my attorney. Their office is 5 minutes from my office. So I just go down there and sign whenever they have documents prepared. I don't go to the actual closings. But basically, I go in, close with the buyer. Buyer sends their funds. So basically, they're buying the property from me. But then I go buy the property from the seller, and I use those funds the buyer bought as pass-through funding to purchase it versus me. So sometimes closing attorneys require transactional funding. So if they won't do pass-through funding. So you have to come up with those funds either from yourself or hire a transactional lender to fund that part, the purchase part. So it just all depends on the person who's working the deal, the attorney, and talk to them before you bring them the deal, before they start running title or whatever. Talk with them, see if they're willing to do pass-through funding. A lot of them will, a lot of them won't. So you just gotta do your due diligence on your attorney before you get them started on the contract and everything.
And the funds sit in the escrow. Like, to be clear, the funds from the buyer don't come into our account.
Yeah.
They go into the escrow account held by the attorney. The attorney disperses the funds to us after both deals are closed. So we never see the 2.1 million.
Yeah. So like when on the HUD, when I was buying it, it showed that I was funding like 1.49 million or something like that. Showed that's the cash from the buyer. That was me. And it's just literally the funds from that $2.1 million the actual in buyer funded. So just talk with your attorney. I use Garner and Kilgore and Buford. They're a small attorney. They only have like 3 employees. There's tons of great attorneys out there. I have a good relationship with Jerry Kilgore there, and he's just easy to work with. He helps me out on the side, gives me lots of advice. So I would recommend always making a relationship with like one of the smaller attorneys versus going to one of the huge attorneys like say Wiseman or O'Kelly and Sorans, someone like that, because you're just not going to get the same personalized experience as you will with the smaller ones. All right, let's go with that. Answer your question, Max? You good? All right, we're going to move on to Brian. Brian, what you got? Brian, you there? All right, we're going to.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Cool. What's up, Clint? This is Brian. I'd started talking already. But yeah, so my question was me starting here with a couple dialers, running most of this myself, moving forward to getting my first hire and so forth. Would you mind breaking down from the process of, initially your marketing of your text messaging, cold calling, and I think you said mailers, to actually closing, how many different hands that goes through, like your acquisitions, your dispo, who's doing what role?
Yeah, I'm going to let Tyler take this one. This is up his wheelhouse for sure.
So the question, just to be clear, it's like where does the lead start and where does it finish, basically?
Yeah, from when the lead comes in from, let's say, a cold caller to closing, how many hands is it? Like, who goes out to the house? Who takes the call? Who does dispo kind of setup?
We're constantly tweaking this, and this is basically my entire life. we have phone systems set up. We use smartphone, which was a game changer for us. But we use smartphone, and there's different ways. So like so just starting by one. So when a cold call or a cold text lead comes in, we use Slack with our VAs, and so Slack, there's a VA channel that our sales guy Ryan is on, and whenever they push a new lead, it shows up in our CRM as a new untouched lead. And it also, they ping us on Slack and say, hey, Ryan, look, we've got a new lead. So once the lead comes in from a VA, from a texting or cold calling lead, Ryan calls them that day. If they answer, I don't want to get too far in the weeds on this, but we have a whole system set up. So if they answer the phone call, Ryan, takes them through a process call, which basically is a 10 to 15-minute call that goes over all the information in detail about the property. And if they're ready for an offer, we schedule an appointment for an offer, and we run some comps and then call them back later that day. So that's how a cold text comes in. If we don't get in touch with them, it falls into a discovery category. It's just a status in Podio that basically we have a follow-up specialist, which is our one of our VAs. He's been with us for about a year and a half now, and he's I would put him against any VA that anybody has ever hired ever. He's amazing. So he's actually acting as our follow-up specialist. So he's calling in a dialer. In other words, he's calling 4 leads at a time in Smart Dialer, which is a smartphone component. He's dialing all of the discovery leads, which are leads that have been pushed to the CRM, but we're having trouble getting in touch with. So he calls those leads once a day. So that's kind of how the cold call leads set up. For our direct mail leads, the CRM is Podio, Alex. We have a custom built CRM. So when a direct mail lead comes in, and this will be the same for TV once that gets cranking, where basically, we have a IVR menu set up that basically says, hey, press 1 if you're interested in selling, press 9 if you want to be removed from the list. If they press 9, they get added to DNC. And when a mailer call comes in during business hours, it goes to Ryan first. If Ryan doesn't answer the call, it rings to me, Clint, and Ryan. If none of us answer the call during work hours, it goes to our voicemail, and we have a shared voicemail inbox. After hours, it rings to our VAs, and we pay our VAs a small bonus if they answer mailing calls after hours or on weekends. So we're just trying to sync to where, we don't ever miss an inbound call. So long story short, every lead's a little different. If it's an inbound lead, we have a phone system set up to where it dials everybody, and hopefully we answer it. We answer 90% of those calls. We're working on getting it to 100. And with cold calling and texting leads, it's all about trying to get in touch with them as soon as possible. But if they don't get in touch with them, then they're put into a bucket that gets dialed twice a day. The last thing that I'm going to add to this, which I realize is a lot, is that we're constantly tweaking this, and we're working on live pass offs between our VA. So if he gets someone on the phone when he's on the dialer and it seems like a hot lead, he's live transferring that to Ryan, our sales guy, so that we don't have to get back in touch with them. I don't have exact numbers on it, but I can tell you that it's astronomically advantageous to have live pass offs that happen, as opposed to like setting appointments or saying we'll call you back in 30 minutes or whatever. Live transfers are key. Yeah. And we have 3 VAs. We have two VAs that work. So OG's kind of like the head VA. He trains the new VAs, and he sends us new VAs because he's got like a lineup of VAs that he says that he wants to come work with us, because we treat our VAs very well and we pay them good, and they love working with us, and they have a great culture amongst themselves. It's actually hilarious. The Slack is full of memes and everybody loves working for us. So we have 3 VAs, and they're offsetting shifts. So like we have a VA's working from 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern all the way until 9 o'clock at night Eastern.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to go to the chat here and answer a few questions. So Maria, you're asking about how does an assignment work? So an assignment, which we didn't do on this big deal, we double closed it, like I said, and I signed only $15,000 or less. So an assignment would literally look like seller John is on the contract as the seller. Our buyer, Resicap, they're on contract as the buyer. All it's going to say is, I think it says assignment fee to Cooper cash offer, $15,000. It's going to be somewhere there on the HUD, and it's going to be a fee to the buyer. The buyer pays. That's literally it. It's not like we have a bunch, like 2 separate HUDs or 2 separate closings. Literally an assignment is literally just a fee on the HUD that says, Cooper cash offer assignment fee, $15,000. And it's not due to the seller doesn't pay it. The buyer always pays it. So, Austin, our VA. So touching on what Tyler said, and I'll give you guys a great recommendation for finding VAs. So what I did in the beginning when I first started is I hired OG, who's our top VA. I hired him from Facebook groups, and I type in on Facebook, I type in Philippines virtual assistant. There's a bunch of groups. I picked the ones that have the most members, 100,000 members or 40,000 members. And I literally posted a job on there. So I hired OG right from the get-go to cold call for me. And so what we figured out was he has tons of connections in the Philippines, just his friends, that aren't making much money. And we realized quickly, we're paying OG starting off $5 an hour, and he's like living like a king over there compared to everybody else. And so we realized that, he has a lot of contacts over there. Let's see, instead of us trying to source the VA, let's see if he can do it. So once you get a good VA in your company that's working good and, you trust, ask them to recruit for you, recruit their friends, family members, whatever. OG's brought on every single other VA we have, and he's been a huge asset. He trains them now. We don't even have to train them. He keeps track of what they're doing throughout the day. So he's just been a huge addition, and you just got to find that one guy who can do that, who's a leader, who can, source the VAs. Next VA we hire, I guarantee you he's going to bring it in too. So definitely recommend doing that. Find one good VA. Let's see here. Let's go to Ken. Ken's got a question.
Hey, what's up, fellas? Tyler actually answered my question in the Q&A section about the replay. But yeah, I'll just say, man, I appreciate it. I'm definitely going to rewatch it multiple times. And however we can regain access to the replay or the email or, via pay, whatever it may be. Yeah, I'm I'm definitely gonna do it for
I
sure.
got you. And so I'm gonna post it. It's being recorded right now. I'm gonna post it on my YouTube channel. It just if you go to YouTube and type in Clint the Closer, it'll be on there. So it should be up hopefully by the end of the night, if not tomorrow morning.
Okay, sounds good. I am in the Atlanta market, so I'll make sure I try to connect with y'all as well.
Sell us some deals, man. We'll buy them if they're good.
For sure. Appreciate you. Peace.
Yep. Justin's up next. Justin, what you got? And also,
What's up, Clint?
also shout out to Justin. Closed his first deal or got his wire. I think either yesterday or today. Closed his first flip. So congrats, bro.
Thanks, man. I got it this morning. So, Clint, I know that you and I have talked about this before, but I wanted to clarify. So, when you first started out, were you just hustling, getting deals from wholesalers and realtors, or did you immediately get a VA?
So I did immediately get a VA, and honestly, it was a terrible decision because I didn't know what I was doing. And I'm also, like I mentioned before, I'm not detailed. I'm not good at managing people. I just did a terrible job of having him on the team, but I knew he had talent. I knew he was good. So I actually kept him on, and I bought a few lists. I closed like, I guess, 1 or 2 deals that first year from direct to seller marketing, cold calling, and OG brought me those leads. But really after a while, I just got so busy with buying properties from wholesalers and realtors that I was just paying OG to stay on and dial these old, washed up lists just to keep them on, because I knew I was going to hire someone like in-house that eventually we're going to need the VAs. And I knew OG was good. So I kept him on board and was basically just paying him and not really utilizing him until Tyler came along. And then, like I said, Tyler's really detailed, analytical, good at managing people. And so I knew if I could keep him on that long, it was going to be a good situation having OG. So I hired OG right off the bat, but really all my deals in those first 6 months, they just came from me hustling. I got them from wholesalers. I bought them from realtors. I bought them, friend referrals. Yeah, it was just me hustling. So.
Okay, cool. Cause that's what I've been doing and it's worked out so far, but I'm starting to get to the point where I want to find my own deals. And now that I have some capital from this one flip, I'm like, all right, well, should I just go ahead and get a VA now or should I wait? So I think I'll probably go ahead and start.
So my recommendation with that is wait till you have someone in-house to help you. Because if you're hustling and you're rehabbing properties and, flipping properties, wholesaling, you're going to have, if you're by yourself in the company, you're going to have no time to actually pay attention and train that VA the correct way. I wouldn't recommend it until you actually have someone in-house to help you.
Constant work.
It's constant work. Just train, because they are like another employee. You have to watch what they're doing. You have to give them recommendations to get the best out of them. And I just did a terrible job, and I'm just not good at it. And luckily, Tyler, me and Tyler are like 2 peas in a pod. We just have very different skill sets and very different work very differently. And so Tyler's been just heading up the VA team and really got our direct seller marketing dialed in. I will say I would definitely recommend getting to that point and getting someone on your team to help you with it, because the biggest discounts and the best deals are going to come from direct to seller marketing, because there's no middleman, there's no wholesaler, no realtor to mess it up. I would definitely recommend getting into direct to seller marketing at some point, because it's going to be more predictable for your business. Like once you get dialed in and, you're spending X amount every month, you should know how many contracts you should be getting each month versus hustling. You're just, kind of balls to the wall, and you're not, there's no system in place. There's no process. You're just hustling and getting deals. And that's great if you want to be a one-man team, but you're never really going to build a business that way, in my opinion.
Yeah. So you think like get somebody that can actually train the VA for you, and like you don't have to like teach them. It's like they take the reins, they figure it out, and then you're just focused on.
So you can do that. You can hire a company that has trained VAs. You're going to pay a lot more per hour than if you source it yourself, but you're not going to have to train it. So that's also a route that I would recommend over getting a VA and trying to train it yourself right off the get-go. I would wait till you have some team members like actually in-house, you're working with there in Denver, because it's just going to be a headache for you, and you're going to end up half-assing it, and it's not going to be that good. It's not going to go well. And I don't think, just from knowing you, I don't think you're that type of personality where you're super analytical. You just kind of, you're more subjective on decisions like me. And I don't think it'd be good for you to do that. I'd rather you hire someone in-house that's, that analytical person the person who's good at managing people and get them to figure out the direct to seller for you versus you. And that's what Tyler did.
Cool. All right. Appreciate it, Clint.
Yep, absolutely. All right. We will go to Nico Moody next. All right, Nico, what you got?
Hey, what's going on, Clint? How you doing?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing all right. Just really quickly, I wanted to see how many leads are you touching per month with calling and texting?
Tyler.
So we text 2,500 leads a day, and I could tell you our response rate. It's something. Our delivery rate's around 97%, 96%. Again, constantly working on getting around carrier blocking and templates and all that kind of stuff. Response rate on those is anywhere between 15 to 20%. A lot of FUs, but we usually get anywhere between 7 to 8 text leads a day, and then cold calling's another 6. We usually get about like 10 to 15 leads a day, and these are not qualified leads. These are they literally responded and didn't say FU. They're like, I might be interested or whatever. So as far as like, again, I could go on all night, but like Ryan, every day we have a daily meeting, and Ryan, our sales guy, he usually makes anywhere, if it depends on how many, because Ryan also comps the properties. Our sales guy, he comps all the properties.
Right.
So he's making anywhere between, on a day that he's going through a bunch of process calls. And again, guys, we don't work 10 hours a day. We're 9 to 4 with an hour lunch. Like we're not the people that are going to be in the office for 16 hours a day, grinding our asses off.
Yeah, and I'm gonna touch on, stop you for a second, Tyler. That is a huge thing with what I wanted to build. I only want to work 9 to 4. I don't want to work late. I have a family. I don't want to work weekends. I have personal hobbies and I've got family time. That's the culture I've built, and it works, because if I asked them to work, past 9 to 4 and I wasn't, do you think, it would be a good from a leadership standpoint? I don't think so. So we keep it 9 to 4. We're not crazy grinders. We work hard when we're in the office, but we also have fun too, and we have tons of personal time. You can build a business however you want. If you want to grind 24/7, 365, you can do that, or you can, just be very efficient with your time that you are working.
Right.
Continuing though is, OG, we moved him into a follow-up specialist role, because we're starting to get quite a bit of leads in our system. So Ryan on a good day makes 30 to 50 calls on a really good day, where it's not on a day that I don't say a good day, on a good day, he makes 25 calls and 10 of them are process calls, and he's making a bunch of offers. But Ryan, he's touching the hottest leads. OG, our follow-up specialist, who's our high-end VA, he is doing, he's calling a bunch of the discovery leads, the dead leads. We've got him on some creative, I'm not going to give out all our secrets, but we've got him on some creative smartphone campaigns to try to duplicate another one of these deals. But he's making around anywhere between $800 to $1,000 a day. How many of those is he getting in touch with? I could give you the numbers. It's I don't have them in front of me. I'm not in the office, but so OG's making the bulk of the calls for the people in our CRM, anywhere between 800 to 1,000 a day, and then Ryan is the one that's following up the hot leads, and he's making anywhere between 25 and 75 calls a day.
Yep.
Does that answer your question?
Sorry, I accidentally already muted him.
Oh, it's all good. He was just asking how many we touched.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Alex Anderson next. Trying to get through these so we're not here too late.
You hear me?
Yep. What you got, Alex?
Hey guys, thanks for doing this. Awesome win. So I was gonna say, can you touch on real quick, and I think you did this, but can you touch on kind of like the seller profile and kind of like what he was looking to do and why he was selling this portfolio?
Yeah, I mean, he was just a 75-year-old guy. His wife had died, I guess. I don't know how long ago. Was it like 5 years ago, Tyler? Something like that. His wife died 5 years ago, and he's spending most of his time literally getting calls from all these tenants, going over there to fix, a toilet or, repair some siding. He was just a tired landlord. That was pretty much the profile. He was just tired of dealing with the 9 house, just wanted to liquidate everything. He's actually got a 10th house that he's already told us verbally he would sell to us. We're waiting on that one, but he's working on some old truck over there right now, and he's not ready to sell it yet. But hopefully we get that 10th house from him. But as far as profile and the motivation, he was just a tired landlord.
Cool.
Yep. All right. We're going to do 3 more questions and then we're going to close it out. So we're going to go to Hugh.
Hi, Clint.
Yes.
Can you tell me how do you buy your wholesaler?
Say that again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you tell me a little bit about how do you buy wholesaler?
How I find wholesaler?
Yes.
You can find wholesalers literally everywhere. If you go to any real estate investors Facebook group, so like where I don't know what city you're in, but like for me, I just go to Atlanta Real Estate Investors Facebook group, and there's like hundreds of houses posted there daily. Most of them aren't going to be deals. Most of them are going to be too tight. But occasionally there's a diamond in the rough. But at the end of the day, you can connect with those people, even if they're not deals, and maybe they'll have one down the line. So I like when I was first starting out, I was commenting on almost every post, leaving my email so I'd get on their cash buyers list. So I had a bunch coming in my email every day. And like I said, most aren't deals, but I would just recommend using Facebook. It's a great resource.
All right, thank you.
Yep. All right, Jamari, you're up.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
How's it going? Yeah, I just want to ask you a question. Just because sounds like we have a lot of similarities in terms of what we do. So given that you kind of close 90% of the deals, but not mistaken, do you kind of run also fix and flip projects as well, or you outsource that now?
Do I run the projects? Is that what you said?
Yeah, the fix and flip projects, or you outsource it
now? Shortly after I hired Tyler, I hired his dad as my full-time project manager. I try to go out in the field as little as possible now. I don't really go to check on the rehabs. I don't really go, deal with contractors. All my project manager's doing all of that. And that was a huge help to helping us scale, was getting me being able to be in the office during that 9 to 4 time, pretty much all the time, and not going out in the field. Occasionally I have to meet up with some cash buyers to show them a property, or occasionally I have to meet with a realtor or a seller. But I try to stay in the office as much as possible. I would outsource. If you're scaling and you're making money, put that money back into your company and building that team out, because it helps you free up so you continue to have that vision and continue to scale. So me not going to properties is huge. And I don't go to closings either. I do mail away or mobile notary for every closing pretty much, other than Garner and Kilgore. I'll go down because they're 5 minutes away and I can go anytime, but I don't go to closings at all. And I do that so I can be efficient and, where I'm going to make the most money is in here in the office, closing deals, or, just having an overall game plan for each deal. So that's what I do.
Gotcha. Okay. And one other question at this time.
All right.
So you guys make the transition to direct to seller marketing. I guess thus far over the past 6 months, since you said October.
Yep.
I guess what has been the best channel for you guys?
You were breaking up. You said your best what?
The best performing channel for you guys thus far.
Honestly, with that $600,000 deal, it's hard not to say the direct mail is not our best now.
Right.
But I mean, it's really
consistent wise.
Honestly, they're all pretty good. I don't think any's way outperforming the other. We've gotten deals from SMS. We've gotten deals from cold calling. Tyler, would you say that's pretty accurate? They're all pretty even right now?
Yeah, the VA leads are cheaper but less qualified. The mail leads are smoking hot, and but there's less of them. On a good day, we'll get 3 mailers leads come in, and we're sending out a lot of mail, but mail is very expensive. We're doing TV, which has an incredibly high barrier to entry. It's $25K a month minimum, I think. And most people that do it spend 50, 75. We've heard people spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on TV a month. And we expect that to be our best lead source. But it's all about the cost per contract. The cost per contract on our VA leads, which are texting and cold calling, and our mailers are about the same. Cost per lead is cheaper with BAs, but there's not a clear answer.
Yep. And we expect TV to be our best. That's what we're hoping for. And one of the reasons I've had a lot of success doing this is because I'm not scared of spending money. When we make money, we reinvest it back into marketing, into new employees. That's literally one of the main reasons why we've had so much success so quick, is because I'm willing to pull the trigger on stuff. I'm willing to take risks. And if you overthink stuff and, you're one of those people that, have to really think about things for a long time before you make a decision, you're going to struggle. You're not going to get places as fast as someone like myself. And I'm not bragging on myself at all. It's just that skill of mine of being able to pull the trigger quick and have risk is what's, is the reason why we've had so much success. I'll answer Grant's question here. Or did you answer that, Tyler?
I answered in the chat. Yeah.
You answered in the chat. What was it? Yeah, most of the properties we lock up are over the phone. Occasionally we'll go to a seller meeting like we did with this guy, or occasionally I'll meet a seller in person, but 90% of them are locked up over the phone. It's just easier that way. We think we can do just as good a job over the phone. All right. I don't see any more questions, so we're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for attending. We really appreciate it. I hope you guys got some value out of it. I hope you learned something. We're going to try to do this every, month or so. My goal with this is eventually I'm going to offer a coaching program and also have some courses available to teach all this. If you have any interest, they're not available yet. I'm working on them. But if you have any interest, feel free to reach out. I'll explain, how it's going to work a little bit. But I want to do these often for you guys because I want to give you that value, and I hope, it helps you on your journey. I wish, I've joined coaching programs. I've, spent a lot of money on coaching since I've got started, and that's helped me so much. So whenever you can attend an REI event or a webinar, a free webinar and stuff like that, or if you can pay for coaching, I would recommend doing it because it's only going to shorten that learning curve for you so much, and you're going to get to the place where you want to go so much quicker. So shout out to everybody on the call. Happy you guys joined. Hope you guys got some value. So thanks for coming out. Really appreciate it. All right. See you guys.